Welcome to the Geek Switch podcast, turning you on to everything new and nerdy.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 5 for July 8th, 2011. I'm your host, Tony Livingston. With me, as usual, is co-host Dante.
Hey, what's up?
Also, we have joining us as co-host Zach.
How you doing?
And brand new special guest, Bill.
Hello,
Yes.
ladies.
And oh, how he is special.
Yeah, listen to those smooth, dulcet tones that we got going on up in here now.
You got that
You
right.
did that nice
I-
intro for us. Thanks again, Bill.
I am
Anytime.
thoroughly aroused.
All right, so this week's been kind of slow news-wise. Not many posts on the site about anything at all, really, outside of WTF news. So,
Well, we did have the new information from SOE.
yes, of course, there was the big Sony Online Entertainment Fair, but you can go online and read about that at geekswitch.net. What
Correct.
we're going to talk about on this podcast today is our favorite movies and games from the first half of the year. We thought, July's just gotten here, June has just passed. June's the halfway point. Let's just talk about things before they get forgotten in the later part of the year when we get to the real game
I
of the
forgot
year.
what we were talking about.
We haven't even started.
Well, speaking of forgettable movies, how about Green Hornet?
What?
Eh?
That was in 3D, I think? That came out, right?
yeah,
That's a film?
So you guys all see this one?
I saw it on DVD. I didn't see it in theaters.
I saw it
Same.
in theaters,
It one day.
and I'm not sure who I saw it in theaters with, actually, because the person I thought I saw it in theaters with claims they've never seen it, so... But I did see it in 3D.
Damn you, Colin.
Yeah. Freaking Colin. But, I don't know. The movie, not that special. Are we going to consider it at all for our first half of the year?
Yeah,
That's
I think it's worth renting it on DVD at least.
Yeah, it's a good rental. Obviously, it's based on the old comic books, and the old... Before that, it was even based on the old radio plays, I believe.
Let me tell you, it works really well as a sedative because I fell asleep.
All right. Next one on that list is Scream 4.
Now, has anyone besides me seen Scream 4?
No.
No, but Blair, one of our other members that's rarely seen,
Yeah, he's yet to appear on the podcast.
loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a co-founder of the site, right?
Yes.
Yes.
He's our horror movie fan, and he loved it to death. And I was just like, okay, you enjoyed that.
Yeah, I went to see it because I'm not a huge fan of horror movies generally, but I've always loved Scream. It's kind of when I was getting into horror movies as a kid, that's what was big. So I think Scream 4 really fulfills a lot of things. And honestly, yeah, I think if you guys had seen this, we might, or we're fans of the series, we might be talking about this more as a possible contender of one of the things we would pick as the best of the year because it was really well done.
Yeah, but I mean, then again, I finally saw the new Friday the 13th like a month ago. Finally,
But the nice thing about this movie is
no, not Friday the 13th. Nightmare Before Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
That'd be good.
Nightmare Before Elm Street.
Well,
Yeah,
Nightmare always comes before Elm Street.
It's the movie people kill them in their streams with the guy from Watchmen. Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I definitely have to give this one a rental at very least. If you haven't seen it, of course, if you're not a fan of the series, like if you don't like Scream 1 through 3, you're not going to enjoy this. But if you like the series or say you're not familiar with it, I say go check these movies out. They're not your typical horror movies. They're a lot funnier, first off, and just better written. Next up, we have Source Code. And I think
Oh, yes.
Bill wanted to talk a little bit about this one. I haven't seen it personally.
Let's see. Without giving too much away, Source Code, I'll just say this. It's just different, is what you can like about it. It's just a new source of something right there. No
Different
plan
than
right there.
what?
Okay, what you'd expect of it is, how it's right. You remember like when like The Matrix first came out?
Of course.
Blew your mind because of something that's kind of like different and cool and had all like, like special effects. Now, is it as good as The Matrix? Not in the slightest bit. But Jay Gyllenhaal, I've gained a little more respect for him as a guy's a rising actor. I mean, Prince of Persia wasn't too terrible, but for what he like delivers in this and the plot twist that's O. Henry-ish, I'll say for what it's worth, it's good.
Now, what's the basic plot of Source Code?
Uh, Pretty much, guy wakes up in an area he's never familiar with at all. And he's like, the government is trying to get him to figure out what happened on this train incident. And he has to constantly almost like relive it again and again and again because the train blows up. But like there's another explosion getting ready to happen. They can't find the guy who's really going to like be the one who's going to be killing it, who's going to be like really in charge of the actual terrorist attack. And he can see it from as many angles as he wants over and over again to try and figure out who did it, why, and where they're at. So pretty much he'll go through, he has like a certain amount of time before the train blows up. He has to do it again and again and again and again so he figures out how it happened. And how it plays out, how it's written, I like it.
Yeah, so you'd give it a rental, or would you say buy it?
Oh, rental.
Okay.
Not quite a buy.
People buy DVDs still?
What?
Yeah, I can attest to that. I've seen them do it. It happens.
That's a lie.
Well, you can't prove it. So the next movie on our list is Paul.
Yes.
Yes.
And Dante, you want to give us a little intro on that?
I think it's about as geeky of a kind of an alien comedy, I guess you could get. I mean, considering
Simon Pegg.
Yeah, Simon Pegg and the other guy, the one that's not in so many movies.
From Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, he was in Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but Sean Pegg has gone on to do bigger and better things like Star Trek. But I mean, the movie starts at Comic-Con, for Christ's sakes. I mean, how much more geeky can you get than that? And that's how they should have marketed this film, as this kind of geek triumph of, it's basically them going from Comic-Con and as they're heading east, hitting up all these UFO hotspots like Area 51 and the Black Mailbox. And as they go along, they run into Paul, who's a little gray alien that's voiced by Seth Rogen, and chaos ensues. And there's just cameo after cameo, or good cameo after good cameo in the film.
Yeah, I went to go see it, not knowing too much about it when I first went to go see it, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. The problem is I don't think it works for anyone who doesn't get all the jokes. It's not the same as Scott Pilgrim for me, where I feel like Scott Pilgrim can be enjoyed on a basic level. I think Paul really relies a lot more on that geekiness.
And that's the thing, is they didn't market it like that, which they probably shouldn't have, and they should have really just marketed it as like there was a movie a few years back called Fanboys, which is about a group of kids breaking into the Skywalker Ranch to get a copy of Episode 1 for their dying friend.
I love Fanboys. That's a great movie.
Yeah, but I mean, is it something that, like, if you put it in the theaters and marketed it differently, would it do well? No. I mean, it's kind of in that same vein where they should have marketed it as a giant geek film and it would have done better.
Yeah, Paul, if you are a giant geek, which if you're listening to this, just go watch that movie. I think you'll enjoy it.
It comes out in August on DVD.
Yeah, go wait for it to come out and then buy it. Sure.
Purchase the shit out of it.
Yeah. Don't
Yes.
don't download it right now and watch it.
Yeah, purchase it because we want Simon Pegg to be in more films and make more films.
That's true. I still want Shaun of the Dead too.
Oh my God, yes.
All right, so that's basically the start of the year, but now we get into the real kind of meat of the movies with Thor starting off the summer movie trend. Biggest blockbuster of the first part of the year, I guess. Of course, Thor based on the old Marvel comics. Huge tie-in with the Avengers coming in next year. There's a lot of expectations riding on it, and I thought it was a really good movie. The special effects were really, really cool. 3D wasn't as good as I've seen in some other movies, but outside of that, I thought it was really good. Dave, you saw this too?
Yeah, the oddest thing about it, it's probably one of the funnier Marvel films, and not like funny and unexpected, and they accidentally made it comedic, but like they actually wrote decent comedy into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's kind of up there with Iron Man 1, but not quite as good.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably somewhere between Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 1 as far as Marvel films go. Maybe around where Incredible Hulk was, the second Incredible Hulk movie, which I enjoyed a lot.
I
With
think
Edward Norton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed that movie. I wish they would make a sequel to it.
Tim Roth.
Yeah. Mark Ruffalo is the new Hulk, though.
Oh God.
We'll see how that goes.
Oh God.
Now, getting away from the giant tentpole movies like Thor, though, which of course we're gonna universally kind of praise, we get to Bridesmaids, which I think only I've seen. Although this movie's been a surprising.
Is that a porno?
It's not a porno, actually. Surprisingly.
Oh, if it was, I've seen
It's a
it.
female.
Oh, that's the one I'm in, actually. Yes.
Yeah, I'd seen that one.
Ooh, oh.
Oh my.
I like the
Man.
black guy.
Oh. So you're one of my biggest fans, I presume.
One of several.
Oh, good to hear.
You guys,
Play your cards, I give you private. Anyway, back to Bridesmaids. You
yeah,
were saying.
Bridesmaids. Actually, it's a really, really good movie. I wish you guys would go see it. It's shockingly good. It's a female comedy with an all-female cast as the starring roles. It's kind of like The Hangover for this year. In a year when we have The Hangover 2 coming out, this movie feels more in the spirit of Hangover than The Hangover 2 did. And I'm probably one of the few people on here who will talk about enjoying The Hangover 2, but Bridesmaids is definitely a better movie. It's got such good writing. It's really funny. The performances are spectacular. It's also become kind of a sleeper hit. It's one of the biggest grossing movies of the year. It's been done better than Green Lantern and Thor even.
Oh God.
Yeah, but let's not even get into The Hangover 2, because then we'll get into Transformers 3, and then we'll be discussing Deep Wang. And I don't think we need to be discussing Deep Wang.
What is a deep wang?
Well, funny story.
I think I've seen that one too.
Oh, got it famous in Japan.
Do we really want to get into that? Where it's like, what's the name of the actor? Since he's one of your favorite actors, Tony.
Which movie?
He's in Hangover 1 and 2, and he's in Transformers, and he plays the character in Transformers of Deep Wang. He's on
from Community. Chang, what's his name?
Yes.
Ken Jeong?
Yeah, who plays
Yeah,
the same
Ken
character
Jeong.
in every fucking movie now.
Yeah, and he's great in Hangover 2, I thought, honestly, but
Dude, that's one reason I didn't walk out of that movie.
yeah, he's consistently funny wherever he is. I mean, granted, he does play the same character a lot, but he's just, it's just something about that character that he plays that's just so over the top that you kind of have to love it and hate it at the same time. Just like, it's so annoying, but it's just so entertaining to watch. So that's my pitch for Hangover 2.
I was gonna say that's the only reason Hangover 2 exists is that character. Let's face it.
Well, we could argue
Yeah.
about that for days, but let's move on to Pirates 4. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah, actually, I was lucky enough to see I saw it 4 days early
Nice.
in a nice press screening, which was awesome because reserved seats and really really nice cushy place.
And you wrote a review
Was it
for
as-
too, right?
Yes, I did. I actually personally think I enjoyed it more than the last two because it just felt like a new start. It felt closer to the first film. I just wasn't a big fan of the last two because Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley kind of annoyed me.
Yeah.
They just distracted me. I was masturbating too much.
Well, that was just Johnny Depp being on screen, though. That happens with Edward Scissorhands, for you, to be fair. So
I was alluding back to. I thought we were still talking about the films Bill has been in.
Oh, sorry. Different pirate film.
that was
But
that was
Pirates
just Pirates.
4.
This is Pirates.
I thought we were talking about
4.
Butt Pirates 4. I'm sorry.
Oh.
No. I do thank you for bringing that up, though. I'm
That's-
very proud of my work.
Yeah, you can find that on geekswitch.net for sure.
No, you can't.
All right, so a movie that only Bill and I saw was Kung Fu Panda 2,
Yes.
and this
I've
movie is great.
wanted to see
Honestly, it is.
It's better than the first one.
It is, and the first movie was good too. It's
Oh,
it's the Pixar movie you wanted this summer when Cars 2 didn't deliver. I'm being a little mean there, but yeah, Kung Fu Panda is a lot better than the first. Well, it's not a lot better. It's better than the first one, and the writing is just as good. You get more character development between Poe and his father. I think the 3D adds a lot to it actually, and 3D
didn't
works.
see it in 3D.
3D works great in that in that animation style. When a lot of times when you go into a live action movie and try and turn it into 3D, it doesn't work as well. But with animated movies, it just looks spectacular.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, they've been doing 3D and CG movies a little bit sooner than they were doing them live action. Like, I saw Up in 3D, and that was really good in 3D. But at the same time, they were still having some. Oh God, what was it? Clash of the Titans was horrible.
Well, yeah, that's one of those
don't even
early
swear like
transitions.
that. What an absolute
Abomination.
Oh.
It looked so great in the trailer.
Oh,
Hey, no, I'll say this. It was better, though, than fucking I Am Number 4.
Did anyone see that?
I red boxed it like 2 days ago, and I want my $1 back.
I found out that came out on DVD before I realized it was in theaters. That happens to me a lot, though.
I don't endorse downloading things, but don't even download it. You'll want your time and your fucking wasted internet back.
Is it better than Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus starring Jaleel White?
Hey,
No.
Nothing is better than that movie. Don't you dare say that. Come on, this is the Geek Switch podcast. What is geekier than Mega Sharks?
What's the new one that they're coming out with? The Octashark or something? Sharktopus?
Sharktopus.
No. Did you guys hear about Spermzilla?
What?
They're actually the same guy's making a movie about a giant sperm that goes rampant. They're not even a joke.
These are the movies we'll be talking about in our best movie of the year podcast later in the year.
All right. X-Men First Class was a film that you and Bill saw.
Oh my God!
Personally,
I love that movie.
So good.
Okay, if Bill pays for my ticket, I'll go see it. But I'm so burned by the last one, man.
Okay, it's absolute redemption.
Yes.
I have no shame in saying it is my favorite X-Men movies by far.
Definitely, it's definitely the best X-Men movie, and it's one of the best superhero movies of the summer. Like, it blows Thor out of the water, in my opinion. It's better than Green Lantern. It's the best one I've seen all summer. The only thing, of course, that could topple it is the coming Captain America.
But yeah, Captain America
Captain America.
Oh, come on.
Hey,
it's him fighting Nazis.
And not just any Nazis, special red-faced Nazis. So.
No. What is it?
Hugo Weaving.
Nazis.
Right, the occult Nazis. Well, the point is, X-Men First Class is cool because it's a period piece. It's set in the 1960s. It kind of goes and gets rid of all of that continuity that X-Men had built up over 4 movies, and it just shakes it off, and it does a great job with developing these characters. It does like 80s montages of training sequences, which I thought was awesome. You know, it's kind of a throwback of them just throwing fireballs at things and stuff.
Is the Rocky theme in the movie somewhere?
It might as well. It's not in there, but they have that kind of montage thing going, and they do it a couple times. It is just delightful. The whole movie it's fun to watch. It's probably one of the highest recommended movies I would have all year. It's going to be one of the ones to beat, I think, as far as big blockbusters. And speaking of really like high quality movies, Super 8's on here too.
Fantastic movie.
Have you seen that, Zach?
I sure have.
You want to talk about it a little bit?
It's probably the only movie I've seen this entire year in theater.
Which, to be fair, you've just recently had a kid.
My second.
Yeah, so you're a little busy. But one.
He's basically watching so much porn that he has to go take it out.
Yeah, to watch anything worth watching. So I'm a little chapped.
The problem is he goes to a movie theater and he's like, "This isn't porn.
I can't masturbate to this. Bill isn't in this."
So tell us about your last disappointing trip to the movies where you saw Super 8 and there weren't 8 people getting blowjobs on the screen.
Well, there were 8 people getting blowjobs in the row. I mean, right next to me, but I wasn't disappointed. I mean, felt similar to, like, say, the Goonies / Independence Day.
It's super Spielberg for sure.
I mean, it was second best alien movie I've seen this year, right behind Paul.
You really thought it wasn't as good as Paul? It wasn't as good as Paul?
No, I mean they're two different things,
Yeah.
but Paul made me laugh, so if you could do that, you're worth something.
Yeah, but Super 8, didn't it make you cry?
No,
Oh.
the ending was a little cheesy.
Well, that's a shame. It was a little cheesy.
But it's Spielberg.
Yeah, we won't get into spoilers of what happens at the end, but
But ironically, Paul actually has a couple Spielberg moments,
Oh, yeah,
including
for sure.
Spielberg himself in it.
yeah, and definitely a lot of references to like older Spielberg movies like E.T. and stuff like that.
Raiders of the Lost
Lorenzo's-
Ark.
So the next big movie, and this is probably the biggest movie that we've had so far as like promotion wise, and that's Green Lantern.
Never
It-
heard of
We discussed this the day after we saw it. What was it on podcast 3?
Yeah, we talked
First-
about this an episode or two back.
And there's so much hate for this movie through critics, and I don't see why.
It is
I
surprising.
really don't.
It's a decent attempt.
Have you seen it too, Bill?
I did actually opening night.
Yeah, that's where we went to go see it. I honestly, I thought the 3D is better than it's been in a lot of movies this year, especially. Which, for a lot of people it doesn't matter about 3D, but I care about 3D because I'm weird. And I think it I don't know if it was actually shot in 3D. I don't know that for sure, but it looked like it was. So that whatever they were using, it made it look believable. Unlike with Thor, where I felt like you had that rainbow bridge that was kind of sticking out and it looked weird because it was going off screen and it was 2D in some places, and I don't know. Green Lantern, I felt like, did a better job with special effects in that regard. The story had some problems, but if you turn your brain off, it's a great thrill ride.
I say it's better than Transformers 3 in the way of plot versus, Yeah, okay, well, I mean, that's getting into Michael Bay and his ADHD of, look, an explosion, look,
Yeah.
an explosion. And it does one of the first things in any goddamn fucking superhero movie where Hal Jordan, gets on the balcony and he's like, Hal, I know it's you. And it's like, yeah, a little fucking mask is not going to, we've known each other all our lives. I know it's you. And it's like, finally, someone says it in a goddamn superhero movie.
Nice.
Let's face it.
And that's one of the things that I think the superhero movies this summer have done really well is they've all kind of had a good comedic side to them. And Green Lantern, obviously,
Yeah.
we were talking about has comedic elements. We were talking about Thor. They have his buddies over from Asgard that are basically just comedic foils for Thor. And you have First Class where they're cracking jokes half the time. Now,
Is he all right? He drank, he fought, he made his ancestors proud.
exactly. And next year we're going to have the most depressing superhero movies because we're going to have Zack Snyder's Superman. We're going to have the new Dark
Okay.
Knight. The Avengers will probably have some jokes, but it'll be more serious, I think, still.
Mhm.
And then we have what else is
Ghostbusters 3?
is that actually going to happen?
God, I hope so.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And then,
Yeah,
of course,
Bill-
the last
We'll
movie,
have Ernie Hudson.
the last movie we're going to talk about for the first half of the year is Transformers 3. And we talked about this a little bit in the last podcast. Actually, we talked about it quite a bit. So we're not going to go over it too much here. Other than that, we did enjoy it. So let's just jump into our discussion of what are the top 3 movies that you have to see this year, according to us, off this list we got.
I say for comedic value, Paul has to be up there.
Really? You think
Harry Potter 3.
Harry Potter 3. That's a good call. Not in theaters this year, but good try.
But I'm sure we'll be discussing that in
Yes.
probably a podcast or two.
7 Part 2 we will definitely be talking about when we go.
I don't think we'll be talking about 3, but
Yeah. I think we really need to put X-Men First Class on here. I think X-Men First Class does a great job of being what all superhero movies should be, which is, good character development, a fast-moving plot, you get good
Spartans?
actions. Spartans?
Oh, yes. Fassbender was a Spartan in 300.
Oh. Okay, I see what you mean, yeah.
Oh, yes.
But that, I honestly, First Class, super good movie. If you like superhero movies, I think it's the best one I've seen all year. What do you guys think?
I'm
I
agreeing.
haven't seen it, so I can't.
Okay.
I'm still in that case. I'm saying Green Lantern over everything because I haven't seen the other two. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've seen
Yeah.
Super 8.
Someone put the helmet back on Zach and just tap him on the head for that.
Somebody give me my pudding.
I say for comedic value, I say we go with X-Men First Class for action / comic book movie. Paul, and there's only one horror film on this list.
Yeah, Scream 4, though, like I said, is a really good movie. Like, it's really well made. I would have no problem saying it's one of my favorite movies I've seen this year.
But I mean, Super 8 has gotten a lot of good press and a lot of good reviews. Now, Transformers 3 admittedly has the best 3D of the summer.
Transformers 3
They're saying
is good. It's the best Transformers movie so far, I think.
But it's the same movie. They've all been the same movie. I've been listening to a few reviewers, and they make a good point. All three of them are the exact same movie.
Yeah.
It starts off with Sam Witwicky being him, dealing with his little situation. His parents come in, be annoying. The girl comes in. The parents come back in, and there's some, random something that happens with the Autobots or the Decepticons. Then there's a little bit of more plot development with the humans, and the giant fucking battle.
Okay.
Look at all three films.
That's fair.
Isn't every action movie the same though?
With that kind of evidence, how can I argue against you?
And I didn't think about it because when we went and saw it midnight together, Tony, and we were kind of enjoying parts of it, and yeah, people were cheering at the film. And after I sat down and listened to a few other people discuss the film, I'm thinking, holy shit, they're right. They all are the same film.
It's true, and like I said, they're not exactly the same because Transformers 3 is way better than 2 for sure. But
yeah, because you don't have the racist little robots.
Well, that's not the only reason that movie's better. We could do an entire podcast on why Transformers 2 is a bad movie, but let's not get into that.
We could do an entire podcast on why Highlander 2 is a bad movie.
3 is good, but let's not I don't think Transformers 3 is going to be in our top 3 though.
There can only be one.
I think we kind of need to make a decision here. So we're going to go
Super
with
8.
X-Men, Paul, and Super 8.
Yeah.
All right, so the official top 3, we'll go with X-Men, then Super 8, then Paul. Fair enough?
I think why don't we just put them all on a pedestal together, because you can't compare Paul the Super 8 and Paul the, because it's a completely different film.
That's true. All right, well,
like
everyone go see all 3 of those movies.
Godfather to Ghostbusters.
Well,
similar movies.
To be fair, there were a lot less proton packs in Godfather.
Which made it. But how much more awesome would a Godfather's been? How much fucking more awesome would a Tony Montana been in Scarface with a fucking proton pack?
He would have been cooler as Michael Bolton, too.
Say hello to my little friend.
See? Actually, if someone has skills with a fucking Photoshop or goddamn Flash animation is listening to this, make that happen.
Yeah, send that in. We will highlight that on the podcast and the website. So that's it for
kiss
games.
your mother.
Or you don't have to. Don't listen to that.
I won't do that.
No, please send us the art. Don't be deterred by him. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, so we're gonna jump into games. We don't really have a good transition right now, I guess. So
and now for games.
Yeah, games. Bringing it to you. The first big release of the year was for the PlayStation 3 and PC, and that was DC Universe Online. Dave, did you play this?
Yes, I actually do own a copy of it.
Are you still playing it?
Enjoy that. Off and on. It's because it's very, very easy to max out level in it. There's only 30 levels. It's all Twitch-based kind of action combat. It kind of like the best way to describe it is take Infamous, make it a DC MMO. That's exactly it, except you can make your own superheroes. You get to interact. It's all voiced over, and they did break in Kevin Keever for Batman, I believe. They brought in Mark Hamill to do the Joker, which is awesome because you can pick him as a mentor, and you get the Joker talking to you every now and then.
And he was the original Joker.
Well, no, he was the Joker on the animated series.
And yeah, he's done it for a lot of things. He's also in the
original
Arkham
Joker
Asylum.
was the guy from the TV show, but I don't remember his name. Yeah, something.
Caesar Romano.
Yeah, Caesar Romero or something.
Yes.
Cesar Chavez.
But how do you feel about that game?
Mr.
I mean, would you still recommend it? I mean, the player base has kind of dwindled, hasn't it? They've condensed
No,
servers.
it's actually no, I don't think they condensed servers. I think it's been really steady. It's definitely SOE's moneymaker right now.
That's true.
And the nice thing is about every single month they are putting out more content. So they're not like waiting 6 months to a year to put out new stuff. They're consistently updating the storylines.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to see the newest content that Sony just announced at their online and entertainment expo, you can check geekswitch.net. We have a story about that, right?
No, I only covered Planet Side.
Well, we'll get some.
I think we have a link to the SOE Fair page, so that works too.
Yeah.
Next one is Little Big Planet 2.
Little Big Planet 2, which of course is the sequel to Little Big Planet 1.
No,
Has anyone played this one?
I played it. I rented it for a little bit and was like, "Hey, it's the same thing." Because when it first came out, I don't think enough people had enough time to make amazingly cool crap that's out there right now. Which there's like a first-person shooter.
Oh yeah.
Using the engine, there's a lot of stuff people have done with it now. But when it first came out, it was it's the same thing. Ooh.
The real question is which Little Big Planet is this a sequel to? Because this is there were 3 games called Little Big Planet. There was the PSP one, the PS3 one, and the NGP one that's coming out.
Little Big Planet 2 is a direct sequel to Little Big Planet 1.
Whoa.
Little Big Planet on PSP was a port of that, and the NGP one, I believe, is more or less a port of 2.
Wait.
So
Is it called the NGP anymore?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah,
Rafita, my
absolutely
mistake.
correct.
Life. Yes.
The PlayStation Live, yes.
Because Nintendo isn't the only company that can think of stupid names for their system.
Clearly.
Oh, God.
And Sony
Hey,
wants to
the Wii U is just a classy name, okay?
Have you warmed up that one, Zach?
I've been working on it.
Well, the cool thing, of course, about Little Big Planet 2 is that it's not just making platform levels. It is, like you said, you can make first-person shooters, you can make racing games, you could do a top-down shooter, you can do whatever. And so there's a lot more creation that the community can do. Now, is this one of the biggest games of the year? No. Little Big Planet was a lot bigger when it came out, I think.
Because it was different. It was unexpected.
It had a lot more hype, too. People didn't know what it was going into it. But Little Big Planet 2 is good. Would you recommend people buy this, or do you think it's more of a rental?
I would say rent it first because the platforming's kind of not Mario. It's not as tight. Yeah, it's floaty. It's not as tight. It's better than it was in 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still kind of weird to get used to.
I was really hoping that for Little Big Planet 2 they would put in some sort of physics slider you could do, so you could really customize how you could jump. So you could make him jump like Mega Man or something if you wanted. So maybe one day they'll do that.
That's Little Big Planet 3.
God, I hope so. That would be super cool if you could really make anything you wanted to in that game.
The next one on the list is Dead Space 2 with the best marketing campaign ever.
Well, outside of the downloadable game that preceded it, I'll agree with you. Dead Space 2.
Your mom won't like this game.com.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they also put out what was it? Dead Space Ignition that was downloadable. That was basically just mini games that you would find on a Game Boy Advance title.
I didn't mess with that at all.
I played it a little bit. It was basically a motion comic that was split up by these little mini games. Like you had that kind of line writing game that you had with Bit Trip or something, I think it was, on not Bit Trip, but Bit Generations on the Game Boy Advance. And so it's this really weird thing. It did not do a good job of setting you up for Dead Space 2. However, Dead Space 2 is phenomenal. I love Dead Space 2.
Hold on. I kind of have to sneak in here real quick because I'm bad about this. I usually have my TV on to the left of me. And while you're talking, I just happen to glance over, and it's Pawn Stars. And a guy just brought in a fucking Virtual Boy. He's trying
oh
to
my god.
That's fine.
Seen that episode.
And at that point, and I'm just like, okay, time to record.
Well, anytime you want to talk about Virtual Boy, I am all for it. Virtual Boy is one of my favorite systems because
I mean,
it's one of the first ones I
that
ever
would be
bought.
like going on Pawn Stars and going, I've got this Super Nintendo and this Atari and a copy of E.T.
I had ET. That was a terrible game. I was gonna say
Wow.
good, but I
Sorry,
just couldn't bring
I
myself
just-
to.
It was just like we were talking about video games, and it's like I've got to turn. What the fuck?
Hey,
Really?
how appropriate though because we have the 3DS launching this year too.
Yep. Segway.
Yeah, well that's not till March. Let's get back to Dead Space 2 really quick. Did anyone else play it besides me?
I played the demo and I loved it.
Yeah, you really should pick it up. I mean, this game is an action set piece a minute. You're running through these environments. You're doing things fast. It's not quite as scary as the first one in the same way. It's more of it's like Aliens 2 as opposed to Aliens 1, if that makes sense. So you're interacting with more people in person, and you're kind of running through these environments. It's a lot bigger. The cool thing is that you'll fly through zero-G segments, flying literally through giant ships that are crashed and torn apart in space. You're plummeting through space. You're drilling into space stations. There's all sorts of crazy, huge set pieces this game does, while still giving you that sense of terror.
Nice.
But yeah, I definitely recommend that. It's one of my highest recommended games. But moving on, Marvel vs. Capcom 3. What do you guys
Love it.
think?
Yeah, Bill, why don't you go on this one because
I have more experience than any of us.
I go ahead first because I've got a fun little story on this one.
Oh, please do tell.
Okay. Well, we'll probably have him on eventually, but I bought it because, unfortunately, one of my friends talked me into it because he's like, all right, you got to get it. He's been hyping it. He got to play it ahead of time, and he got to play it a couple months ahead of time, and he went to a big tournament, and it's like, well, it's because he's in the game. One of the friends of the site, Kyle Abear, who has helped promote us several times, is actually the voice of Ryu. And I bought it to play him, and I played it a couple times, and then I'm not good at fighting games. It's probably one of the best fighting games I've seen in a long time, next to Street Fighter 4, but yeah, it wore off. The nostalgia of it wore off really quickly on me. What do you think, Bill?
Well, how do you follow that? Well, I don't know the actors for it, but I will say this. Been playing it since, it was X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Love it. Big change from 2, especially control-wise, which kind of caught me off guard for a little bit. But hey, love it. Great combos, easy to pick up, difficult to master. Long story short, it's just good.
Yeah, I played it too, and I really only have much experience with the second game in the series, but it's probably the most famous anyway. And it's something I've been playing since the Dreamcast. I have the Xbox Live Arcade version. I love the series, and for me, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was a great success for them. I mean, I think it was well executed. It's a lot of fun. I know Colin actually says it's his favorite fighting game now. He just loves it, even over like Smash Brothers and things. So I think that's coming from high praise. But let's move on to Bulletstorm, which of course was from Epic Games. Came with a Gears 3 beta, which got a lot of people to buy it. But let's talk about it on its own merits. I thought this game was a lot of fun. It's much more silly than your average first-person shooter. It's got dialogue full of bitch and shit and fuck.
Dick
Just the
jokes.
best kind of dick jokes you can imagine. This is what Duke Nukem Forever should
Real
have been.
classy jokes.
Oh my.
Yeah.
All right, Takei. Don't turn this into a three-way call.
The best part about Bulletstorm, though, is like it is like this fresh breath of air that you don't get from anything else out there. It's the same.
It was colorful.
It was.
All these shooters this year are fucking gray and drab, and it was bright and colorful.
Yeah, and it's not about telling this brooding story of, oh, I lost my family in the war, and now I'm gonna go back and kill all those motherfuckers. No, this is a guy. he's just there. He's kicking people in the air. He's shooting their heads off. He's shooting them in the dick for extra points. It's all about combos. It's awesome. And I think
I'll shoot you in the dick for some extra points.
Later.
Oh, sorry. Are we still on?
I think
Oh.
so.
We film after this.
One of these days I'm going to start
Alright.
recording. But Killzone 3 came out right after that. And speaking of games that are not colorful, has anyone played
Killzone 3 is PS3's Halo, plain and simple. You buy it for the multiplayer for the most part. You play it through the single player with your friends, or by yourself, and then you play it for the multiplayer over and over and over again.
That game,
Same reason you buy Halo.
the game is absolutely beautiful, though. Watching it run, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it in 3D. I got a chance to try it a little bit in 3D at a friend's house, and the 3D in that game really helps you get a sense of the depth with. There's some like light platforming sections you do on some icebergs that I was doing, and it really helped me. That first-person platforming, which is normally dreadful, became a lot more bearable with 3D on.
Yeah.
So hopefully we see a lot more first-person shooters, because I think first-person shooters is one of the best places for 3D. So maybe, I guess the 3DS doesn't have a second analog stick, unfortunately, but it does have a touch screen, so... Hunters 2, confirmed? Metroid Prime Hunters, anyone?
What?
Metroid Prime Hunters 2, that's coming, right?
Yeah, better.
Yeah.
After the last disappointing Other M.
Yeah.
Alright, so we're on to March.
Speaking of Nintendo franchises, Pokemon Black and White came out. Has anyone played it? Dave?
A little bit. It's Pokemon.
Well, but this is kind of a
Next.
reboot.
I wanna be the very best, like no one ever.
Alright, we'll move on
Sorry.
to another RPG, Dragon Age 2. I love this game too. Does anyone else?
Yay, disappointment.
You didn't like it, of course. You want to talk about why you didn't like Dragon Age 2?
Same reason as it's had the major complaints, which was it just wasn't as open-ended as 1, which is sad for BioWare. They dumbed it down for consoles too much. It just...
It's a fair point to make. I played it on consoles, so full disclosure on that, but I thought it worked really well with a controller, much better than the first game did, obviously, because it is more consoleized. And I find the combat more visceral. I found the story pretty engaging. The characters, I will agree, are not quite as strong as in like a Mass Effect or even in Dragon Age 1, but there are some really interesting ones.
But the story was so torn apart because it felt like playing episodes versus a giant overarching story.
It is. It's almost split up into, it's kind of split up in those acts where you're almost playing a TV show, but I don't have a problem with that. I'd say Dragon
But in
Age
comparison
2,
to the first one, I mean, I don't think it was a... If you compare BioWare's work, I do not think it is an accomplished follow-up to the first game in comparison to Mass Effect 2 and in comparison to Mass Effect 1. They're known for making better sequels.
honestly, I feel like Dragon Age 2 for me was better than Dragon Age Origins, but like I said, I played it on a console. From my understanding, Dragon Age 1 is a lot better on PCs, right?
Correct.
Now, I love Dragon Age Origins on the consoles, but this does work better on consoles. So if you tried Dragon Age Origins and you didn't like it because of that, you might give Dragon Age 2 a try anyway, I think. Because
it's worth playing, but I mean, it's discounted now too, which
Yeah.
is nice. But it's $60.
it's definitely not for everyone, but I think there are people out there who, like me, will actually really enjoy it. What I don't think people will enjoy, though, is Homefront. Anyone play Homefront? Mike?
Nope.
Yeah, actually, I have an odd situation with Homefront where now that I'm not under NDA, I've actually been playing the game since last October. I actually was part of an alpha testing team for October till March.
Now, when you were testing, you were only testing the multiplayer, right?
No, yes, only the multiplayer. But I mean, trust me, I saw bugs that I probably won't be able to talk about that were just like, we're glad that's not in the game. And that's the strongest point of it, is it's multiplayer.
That's definitely
The
true.
single player is too short.
It's also not that good, the single player. The multiplayer, I will agree with you, is actually pretty strong, but the problem with the single player is it's so heavily scripted that a lot of times I would have, I'd have to wait for like 4 people to pass me so I could go up a ladder after they did. I can't go before they do. There's so many scripting issues in that game, and I really like what they were trying to do with the story and the ideas that they put forward, but I don't feel like the execution was there yet.
it's because it was written by the same man who did Red Dawn.
Mhm.
And it would have probably made a better updated movie, which they're doing.
Yeah.
Which they're the new Red Dawn is going to be basically Homefront the movie. So true.
And then at the end of that month of games, we had the 3DS coming out, which had like 17 games at launch that were pretty much all terrible, outside of a couple like Street Fighter 4.
So, yep.
Street Fighter 4. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
It's Street Fighter 4 on a handheld. It's the only difference is the backgrounds are still images versus slide animation. It's gotten better games. We've got Ocarina of Time, which we'll cover probably next time.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good successor to the DS. 3D or not 3D doesn't matter. All the other features for the system, and we'll probably get into more depth on that on a future cast when there's maybe been a few more titles released that take advantage of that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it was a weak launch. It's a good system. It's going to have some very good games coming out.
Yeah, and there have been some good some games come out since then. Like we've had Dead or Alive Dimensions come out recently, which was supposed to be pretty good. I played Resident Evil Mercenaries, which I thought was fun. You know, outside of that whole save debacle, which we're not going to get into. But you know, the 3DS has a lot of potential there. The graphics on it still kind of blow me away. The fact that it is running like basically Wii level graphics on a handheld.
I'd say it's higher than Wii
Yeah,
level.
well, it's definitely in that range, probably a little bit better. But the 3D is what really makes it impressive, and I'm really happy to have one of these consoles.
Next up, we've got April with Mortal Kombat, a wonderful remake.
Well, it's not a
Yes,
remake;
it is.
it's a reboot.
Retelling.
Reboots.
It's a reboot
Yeah.
in the same way that Star Trek was a reboot, because it continues the continuity, but in a different timeline, basically. So you have basically a retelling of the first three stories, but with little differences, because Raiden went back in time after Armageddon, which was the last game, to tell his former self all these things about how the tournament would turn out. But the really great stuff is that the combat's just really good in it. It's a lot of fun to play, right?
Phenomenal.
Do you guys have a favorite character?
Well, not to sound too stereotypical, but I gotta go with Jax.
Who couldn't love Jax, though?
Oh.
Personally, I think I've always been a Sub-Zero guy, which is kind of typical, I suppose. But
Oh.
how can you not love a guy
Yeah.
who can freeze a guy and then rip his skull out? All right. Well, I think Zach is
Amazing.
going to leave us for the night. All right, Zach.
Zach?
Yeah, we'll see you guys
All right.
later.
Well, we'll continue on. Have a good night, friend.
I love you,
We love you too,
Bye, Zach.
and especially you, Bill.
and our listeners. You love our
I'll see
listeners,
you
right?
later.
I love everyone.
All right.
Well, talk to you later.
So let's continue on. After Mortal Kombat, actually, no, the same day as Mortal Kombat came out was Portal 2, which probably my favorite game this year so far.
Yeah, it's probably been one of the most solid titles we've seen from Valve in a long time, because the first Portal wasn't from Valve. It was a mod,
Well,
or a mod
it
project.
was from Valve in that Valve bought someone who made it then.
Yeah.
But it was originally Nabaklar Drop, which was a DigiPen project, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, and if anyone wonders where Zach went, we just basically lost him to wife aggro.
Well, he has 2 kids. We'll allow it. But yeah, Portal 2, just phenomenal. The writing in it is spectacular. I could rave about it for hours, as you could probably just tell. If you want to know more about Portal 2, go check out my review on geekswitch.net. Yeah, it's really good.
I wish we had Brian on here. One of our, he actually wrote the review for Brink, which we're going to talk about next. And I think myself and him are the only 2 people who've actually played the game.
That's true. I haven't played it. I'm familiar with it, though.
The easiest way to describe it, it's post-apocalyptic Team Fortress 2 with parkour. It had some lag and balance issues when it first came out, and it's gotten a lot better since then. I think it's a lot of fun because it's a nice... it was a nice distraction from TF2, because I'd been playing TF2 for so long and so much before the recent release of it being free to play. And now TF2 is free to play, so everyone's just going to play that instead.
Well,
so rent it.
Yeah, Brink is good if you want something different, but the problem, from my understanding, is that the multiplayer and single player are essentially the same, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're together. You can play the multiplayer. You play the campaign in multiplayer, which is very different, and it's not exactly what they originally were trying to do, but maybe if they make a sequel, they'll do it better.
Yeah, and here's my question. Do you think that this game is even worth playing if you don't have an online connection, though? Like, is the single player...
No. It is. It's one of those. It's multiplayer.
Yeah, it's good that we make sure we get that up front for sure. But speaking of something that would be great to play single player a lot of is Witcher 2, which of course came out for PC. It's now been announced for Xbox. Have either of you played it?
I am waiting until I get my new video card to play it because I know I'm going to drop a good 60 hours plus into it. And right now I'm trying to... I'm so backlogged on video games. I've got Ocarina of Time. I've got Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood.
You're still behind on Assassin's Creed, man.
Brother.
Well,
dude, I have platinums on both those babies. Love those.
Oh yeah,
games.
Assassin's Creed's one of my favorite series.
As we talked last week, Steam has, for the last week or so, this is day 9 of their sale, and they've just been having games on sale for ridiculous prices. So I picked up all 3 Assassin's Creed games in their directors and special editions for $26.
Not a bad deal at all.
Like, I picked up Amnesia today for $5.
What?
Yeah. That game's supposed to be really epic.
Well
I picked up... I picked up a lot of games in the past week that I have pretty much backlogged and probably won't get to most of them for a month or two.
I rebought Coming to America. I don't know what.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Oh, yes.
Eddie Murphy at his finest.
Actually, look at this. But as we were talking about Portal, if you're a PC gamer, go online to Valve right now, because SteamPower.com, download Steam. You can buy Portal 2 in the Valve Complete Pack for $50, and you get every single other Valve game that has been released with
which includes some of the best games of all time, like Portal 1,
Left 4 Dead 1 and 2,
Half-Life
2,
1, Half-Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2. I mean, the list goes on.
It's a $215 bundle that's 77% off.
How could you go wrong with that? It's so awesome. I love Valve.
No brainer.
If you love Valve like I do, you need to buy this.
Actually, and today, apparently, Mass Effect pack. Ooh, hello. Mass Effect 1 and 2 for PC for $19.99.
And that
that includes the deluxe edition of 2, which is pretty
so that
awesome.
includes Mass Effect 1 and the best game of all time, right?
I wouldn't say the best game of all time, but that's only for another 12 hours, though.
Yeah.
But that's still like the
podcast will be up
Red
by
Faction
then. Sorry, guys.
But I mean, keep an eye, because they'll do it again, because I think it's been on sale twice.
Yeah,
week.
and you can still find Mass Effect 2, which is pretty much all you need, really, for like $20 anywhere. So, no matter what you pay for that game, it's worth it.
Says you.
So good. Oh, dude, I'll back him up on that one.
I mean, granted, I wouldn't recommend you go out and spend more than $60 on it, probably, but that'd be a little silly. But I think even if I bought it $60 today, I'd still be happy with it. That's one of the best games I've ever played. It's one of the best of this generation, easily.
Dude, I'd say best
that's
sequel.
going to say best of this generation.
Best
I wouldn't
sequel.
say best of
Let's
all
see, personally,
time.
I would say possibly best game of all time. It's hard for me to say, but
See, they say Ocarina of Time is one of the best games of all time.
yeah, and I'm not having as much fun with that as you might think.
Man.
But that's a topic for maybe next week. LA Noire is the next game. I also reviewed this, which you can check out my review again on geekswitch.net. I really liked it.
I didn't.
It's not perfect. I'm not a huge fan of most Rockstar games, although I did like Red Dead Redemption. This is probably my second favorite Rockstar game, right before Bully, which I really enjoyed too. The problem with LA Noire is that it is so cut and dry as to whether you get something right or wrong in these conversations that you have. So you never feel like you're really talking to someone, I think.
They could have done better. I think they should have let it cook for a little bit longer. Had better transitions.
That being said, I still feel like it's one of the best games of the year. The facial animations, which I have raved about on the podcast before and in my review, are just better than you've seen in a movie. They're the best facial animations on an animated thing I've ever seen.
I disagree with that.
So
The best-
how would you consider like comparing the emotions as well as choices compared to that of, well, let's say Heavy Rain?
I haven't played Heavy Rain, but from my understanding, I feel like Heavy Rain gives you more options to kind of split off from. In LA Noire, it's an open world game, but you're really kind of just going down this case path. You're doing this case, and then you go to the next case, and then you go to the next case, and then you move on to the next desk, and there's cases there, and you go one by one. It's all very deliberate. I mean, granted, you can, miss things here and there, and the things that they do to fix that are really cool. Like, say you miss a piece of evidence at a crime scene, there may be a character that you wouldn't meet at all later in that case, and that you meet, and then they'll tell you about that thing. So they do a lot of cool stuff with that.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, I'll stop ranting about it. It's a good game. I think you should check it out. Dave disagrees. Moving on, Child of Eden. I just reviewed that. We talked about it pretty recently.
Yeah, we talked on the last.
Yeah, so we're not going to get into it. I still say
go listen to last
go
week.
listen to us. Duke Nukem Forever.
Alice.
We talked about.
Haven't played.
Yeah, no one's really played Alice. These just came out. Fear 3. Has anyone played that?
No.
No.
Yep.
Shadow of the Dam. You covered it on the last podcast.
But again, go check out my review of that. It's up on geekswitch.net for Child of Eden, Duke Nukem Forever, and Shadows of the Damned. But let's just go through what do you guys think are the top 3 games of the first half of this year? First off, Bill, what's your number 1 game?
Right now, though I did absolutely rant about, I said Marvel vs. Capcom. Right now, favorite, got to go with Mortal Kombat.
Okay, and why do you think Mortal Kombat over specifically Marvel vs. Capcom 3?
There's just something about the fatalities that just makes it better. It still has the wonderful 2-on-2 team option, but also beyond to have you and a buddy go up against the computer. That alone is just gold for me as well.
Very cool. And I think another thing that I should really quickly mention about Mortal Kombat is that it has the best storyline of any fighting game, I think, ever. Probably. It's a lot more interesting anyway.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Dante, what do you think? What do you got as far as what would you say your big game of the year so far is?
It's got to be, I think, Portal 2 for me because
I take my answer.
Yeah. I mean, it's by far one of the best single player experiences, and yeah, Portal 2.
Yeah, Portal 2. It's hard to beat that one. Now I have to think of something else to pick.
It's a game you can replay 6 months from now and still enjoy it and kind of be surprised by it.
And another interesting thing, Mortal Kombat and Portal 2, which are the 2 games you guys just picked, came out the same day. Which, if you recall, it was, I think, 4 days after the PSN went down. What a debacle that was.
Oh, God.
Let's not even get into that.
Oh.
But yeah.
Speaking of, Bill, you left your credit card over here.
Speaking of credit cards, I'm going to have
tasteless jokes and
I have a little bit of a hard time picking my game, I guess, since you took Portal. For me, it would come down to between Child of Eden, Shadows of the Damned, or Dead Space 2. What do you guys think between those 3?
You're a huge fan of Child of Eden.
I am, so we might want to discount that one a little bit. Outside of that, I'm going to go with Dead Space 2. I think Dead Space 2 is a great adventure. The multiplayer is nothing to write home about, but it's passable. The single player, however, just kept me on the edge of my seat. I loved it the entire time. I watched Colin play through it all the way, which I don't do with every game. Sitting there and watching someone play for 8 to 10 hours is not generally something I like to do, but that game is just like watching a horror movie, so I'm gonna go with that. And that's gonna wrap it up for us this week. Just a quick recap: our top 3 movies for the Geek Switch podcast for the first half of 2011 were Paul, X-Men First Class, and Super 8. Our games were Mortal Kombat, Portal 2, and Dead Space 2. Anything else you guys want to plug before we get out of here?
I know we've got some interesting little projects coming up on this site. We're going to do more than just podcasts and video reviews. It's just going to be a little bit longer before we kind of get things going. We'll have some surprises. That's for sure.
And hopefully next week I'll have a review of Earth Defense Force Insect Armageddon for you guys. But
that's what I've played. I completely forgot about that.
What'd you play?
Do not go rent or buy Transformers Dark Side of the Moon, the game.
Oh, and really quick, another thing I've heard, don't get the Stealth Force edition. You cannot transform in that game.
What?
Yeah, you're a transformer that doesn't transform. Okay, technically you transform. Let me explain. You transform.
Hey, it's like Shiloh LaBeouf. You're an actor that can't act.
Right. So basically, in the Stealth Force edition, you're a car that transforms into a car with guns.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's Knight Rider.
Yeah. Also, the 3DS and Wii version are the same game.
That's kind of awesome at the same
It's a little bit
time,
awesome, but can you imagine, like, just that's Activision taking the easy way out, of course.
Of course. But, yes, movie games tend to suck. Plain and simple. Avoid them like the plague.
All right, so really quick wrap up and closing. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can follow us at Geek Switch. You can follow me personally at Tony Livingston. You can follow Zach at Soapy Buttcheeks, and you can follow Dante at Kierwin. Of course, remember to go to Facebook and like our fan page. That's facebook.com/geekswitch.net. If you want to email the podcast, feel free to email us at podcast@geekswitch.net. You can email me personally at pojobaon or pojobaon@gmail.com. And thanks for joining us once again. Bill, thanks for being on.
Anytime.
Dante, thanks for joining me. And until next week,
Of course.
keep switching on.